The sky was perfect blue when the first Japanese plane appeared over Pearl Harbor at 7:55 a.m., December 7, 1941. No one on the USS Arizona noticed it at first. Sailors were still lining up for Sunday breakfast, joking about girls back home, polishing brass in the tropical sun. Tommy Reilly, 19, freckled and fresh from Brooklyn, was humming Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy while scrubbing a ventilator. He had enlisted because the Navy promised adventure and 3 square meals, never imagining the adventure would come looking for him. Then the world ended in a roar. A single bomb sliced through the morning like God's own knife. It punched straight into the forward magazine of the Arizona. A mountain of orange flame erupted, taller than the ship's mast. The explosion lifted the 35,000-ton battleship clear out of the water before slamming her back down. Men, bulkheads, and 9 million gallons of fuel oil became one screaming inferno. Tommy was blown off the deck. He remembers flying, slow motion, watching his best friend Jimmy disappear in a wall of fire. Then the black water hit him like concrete. Burning oil coated the surface. Screams bubbled up everywhere, then stopped. He clawed through the slick of death, lungs on fire, until his fingers found a floating hatch cover. Around him, torpedoed battleships listed like drunk giants, West Virginia, Oklahoma, California, settling into the mud with groans that sounded almost human. The air tasted of cordite, pork chops from the galley, and cooked flesh. Smoke stacked so thick it turned day into bruised twilight. Japanese planes, red suns painted on wings, dive-bombed again and again, machine guns stitching the water with white foam. Tommy floated among body parts and Sunday newspapers still folded to the funny pages. He whispered the only prayer he knew, "Please, God, don't let me die ashamed." Hours later, a motor launch fished him out. His skin was black with oil except where tears had carved pale trails down his cheeks. They wrapped him in a blanket that smelled of someone else's blood and carried him past rows of wounded on the dock, men holding their own intestines, calling for mothers in voices too young for such pain. That night, in a makeshift hospital, President Roosevelt's voice crackled over the radio. A date which will live in infamy. The room erupted in rage. Men with missing legs shook fists and swore revenge. Tommy just stared at the ceiling, feeling nothing. His heart had stayed in the water with Jimmy. In the weeks that followed, America exploded into motion. Recruiting stations overflowed. Women traded silk stockings for war bonds. Factories that once made refrigerators began spitting out bombers. Posters screamed "Remember Pearl Harbor" in blood-red letters. But inside Tommy, time froze at 7:55 a.m. He couldn't sleep without smelling burning oil. Every loud noise sent him diving for cover. When he closed his eyes, he saw Jimmy's face melting. Guilt gnawed him raw. Why did I live and he didn't? Was I too slow? Too scared? Did I hide when I should have fought? He started believing the worst lie of all: real men don't break. So he swallowed the screams, smiled the dead smile of the guilty. One night he walked to the edge of the base, dog tags clenched in his fist, ready to hurl them, and himself, into the Pacific. The war outside was roaring toward victory, but the war inside was sinking him faster than any torpedo. He stood on the pier, moonlight glittering on dark water, whispering, "I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm just sorry." That was the exact moment a gravel voice behind him said, "Kid, you planning to let Tojo kill you twice?" Tommy spun to see a scarred old chief petty officer lighting a cigarette with fingers that ended in burned stubs. The name tape read Mac. Mac didn't wait for an answer. He just jerked his head toward the gate. "Come on, sailor. Coffee's hot and the night's long. You ain't the first to stand where you're standing, and you won't be the last to jump if I can help it." Tommy hesitated, then followed, because even a broken compass still points somewhere. 3 months later, San Francisco shipyards never slept. Welders' torches lit the fog like angry stars. Women in bandanas riveted Liberty ships faster than the enemy could sink them. The city pulsed with one heartbeat. Build. Fight. Win. Tommy had been sent there for light duty while the Navy decided what to do with a sailor who flinched at his own shadow. Every dawn he watched half-sunken ships, ghosts of Pearl Harbor, being resurrected *** on the ways. Steel plates scarred by Japanese bombs were cut away, new ones welded in their place. Ships that should have been dead steamed out under their own power again. One dawn, Mac, now Tommy's unofficial guardian angel, marched him to the biggest dry dock. There lay USS Shaw, her bow blown clean off at Pearl Harbor. Now a brand new bow was being grafted on, sparks cascading like golden rain. Mac handed Tommy a battered 1918 doughbore helmet. Inside, etched with a nail, were the words, "Hate will keep you alive today. Purpose will keep you tomorrow." Then he pointed to the scaffolding 200 feet up. "Your mission, sailor. Climb up there, weld one plate, and while that arc is burning white hot, you tell the ship, out loud, what you're actually fighting for. Not what the posters say. What you say." Tommy's stomach lurched. Heights. Fire. Noise. Everything that haunted him. But Mac's burned eyes held no pity, only expectation. So Tommy climbed. Each rung rattled like machine gun fire. Halfway up he froze, wind whipping his dungarees, the bay swirling far below like the black water that swallowed Jimmy. Tears blurred his mask. He almost turned back. Instead he heard Mac's voice from the dock, small but steady. "You already survived the worst day. This is just the first day of the rest." Tommy lit his torch. The arc flared blinding white. He pressed the rod to the steel and the words ripped out of him raw and ugly and true. "I'm fighting so no 19-year-old kid ever has to watch his best friend burn again. I'm fighting because Jimmy didn't get tomorrow and I damn well will. I'm fighting so when this war is over, the world is a place where Sunday mornings stay quiet." Sparks showered around him like forgiveness. When the bead cooled, the plate was perfect, stronger at the weld than the original metal. Tommy stared at it, chest heaving. Something inside him that had been cracked wide open began to fuse. That night Mac bought him a beer and spoke the lesson plain. Pearl Harbor wasn't a defeat, it was a revelation. The real sneak attack is always the one we pull on ourselves. Telling ourselves we should have been superheroes, that feeling pain makes us weak, that the dead would want us to stay broken. The Arizona sank in 9 minutes. Nations, and men, can choose to stay sunk, or they can surface swinging. He tapped Tommy's dog tags. You don't avenge the fallen by joining them early. You avenge them by refusing to let their story end in fire. Turn your pain into a promise, son. That's how the only victory they'd salute. 6 months later, a new fleet steamed west, bigger, faster, deadlier. Among them sailed Tommy Reilly, now a damage control instructor on a fleet carrier. When raw recruits panicked during battle drills, he didn't quote posters. He rolled up his sleeve, showed the burn scars shaped like Hawaii, and told them about a Sunday morning in December and an old chief who taught him. Courage isn't not being afraid. Courage is being terrified, and welding the plate anyway. The boy who once wanted to vanish now stood on the bridge in salt-stiff khakis, eyes clear, carrying the names of the lost by living fiercely for the living. The war was far from over. But inside Tommy Reilly, and inside America, the real war had already been won. We all face our own Pearl Harbors. The only question is, will you stay sunk? Or will you weld your plate and rise? Comment your purpose below. Like if this hit hard. Share with someone still floating in burning water. Subscribe, we're building something stronger together.